Frontline Bible Church. Great to see everybody today. Great day of celebration as we kick off the new ministry year, and it's just great reminders of kind of the groups we're part of, but also what God is doing here. So I hope to be able to show you some of that as we work through it. But I can truthfully say it is a joy and a privilege to be your pastor. And being gone a couple weeks, I was on vacation, and now to be back, I came in and somebody said, "Oh, you still do work here?" I said, Yes, believe it or not, I still do work here. So yes, thank you, Jennifer. Thanks, Jenny. Anyway, it's good to be back again as we kick off this ministry year. And so I want to just share with you a starting point, which is this. Our focus over the next year has to do with change. How many of you here like change? All right. Maybe I should ask this. How many of you don't like change? Okay, all right, there we go. The hands went up a lot easier that way. Some people just don't like change. I think all of us actually like change as long as it affects us positively. For instance, for those of you who are trying to lose weight, and when the number's changing, going down, are you excited about that? Yeah, exactly. I mean, we like change as long as it, quote, benefits us. But I think what happens sometimes is when we experience change, we don't understand sometimes that the change that needs to happen might not benefit us right away, or might not benefit us in the way that we think. Have you gone through something maybe where something didn't go your way, and then later on you found out, oh wow, that was actually better? Yeah, exactly. That's why I ended up with my wife. You see, I thought I was going to be married to somebody else, and God had other plans for which I am eternally grateful. And so, yeah, that's right. So changes oftentimes happen, but in the moment, sometimes we question, I'm not sure I want that change. I'm not sure I like that. But a lot of times it has to come with an attitude. When we think of change, do we have a negative attitude about change? Things are changing and I don't like it. I don't like the way I used to like it, the way we used to do this, and it's changed and it's different now and I don't like it. And so therefore when things happen, I'm looking for the things that remind me as to why I don't like that change. Or maybe we can say, you know what, things are changing. And right now I may not be a big fan of it. But I'm going to choose to believe that maybe there's going to be some good that's going to come out of it. Maybe it won't come out in the way that I think it's going to. Maybe it's going to not come out in the time that I think it's going to. But I'm going to choose to believe that there is going to be good that's going to come from it. Some would say that's to have a positive attitude about change. And so as we look at our ministry year that we're looking at right now, where we're seeing as we go into 2025 and the 2026 ministry year, I'm here to tell you, change is coming. Change is happening. But it has to. How many of you have noticed that the world is changing? This past week was a pretty tough week, wasn't it? Things are changing. The world's changing. We can't keep doing things the same way all the time, expecting the same results. So we have to keep changing it, but the question's going to be, what's going to be our attitude about it? And so our theme this year is really what I would call change positive. I'm asking you guys to be positive about the changes that are coming. That's not to say you can't have an opinion. That's not to say you can't come to us and say, hey, I'm questioning about this change. Or maybe what it would be is, I'd like to see some more changes. Maybe that's what it is. But I'm going to call all of us to say, as we make changes, to be more effective as a church, because we live in a changing world. I'm asking us as a body, as a congregation, to come around and say, I'm going to maybe suspend my own judgment long enough to say, I'm going to choose to believe in the leadership and where they're going and the things that are happening, because I believe that God is going to do something amazing, even if it may not look right away the same. And so as we look, I want to remind us, our mission statement is equipping people to make an eternal impact in the world. That's our mission. That's what we're trying to be about. And then we have our core values, which hopefully will show up there. Oh, it did. Okay. On my thing, it didn't. So I couldn't see what was on there even. This is our core values: to embed the Bible, to be the church, to care for the community, to get moving spiritually. We went through the last 4 weeks, went through and just walked by week, explaining what these things mean. That's who we are. And then also when you look at some of the things that are doing, we're making changes. And so I wanted to list for you some of the changes that are actually happening. Maybe you can see this. I'm going to go through rather quickly on these. We made the Frontline Kids Ministry Director a paid staff position. And Tina hired Tina Post. We've never had that before. We've never paid our children's ministry director, but we've got some fantastic kids and we live in a very growing community. We recognize we need to be prepared for even more children who are going to come in, and Tina's just killing it. She's doing a great job. We added Pastor Brandon Thomas to our permanent staff, and he's now our Frontline Youth Ministries Director. Dan Post, first time as our elder chairman. Mike Reimers is back again with our trusty chairman. We added small things, added a changing table in the nursing supplies to the lounge. By the way, that's the lounge over there, to better serve our new mothers. We added a leadership intern. It's a 9-month thing. One of our youth leaders, our students, is doing that. Also, we changed the format of our bulletin. We updated our policy of announcements. Frontline Women's Ministry began holding women's worship nights. We painted the multipurpose room and updated all signage, updated our online giving platform, moved the Frontline Kids check-in station to the lobby. And then another one. Trustees are now using QuickBooks. We welcome back Jeremy Gutierrez, as our treasurer. We switched to a larger center screen, which we got this year. We began the process of redesigning our lobby. We welcome many new babies into the world. We added a library for all ages to use. We began teaching biblical ethics Bible class with adults and youth. There's some of the things. I'm sure we missed some of the stuff, but more stuff is coming down the pike. But I wanted you to see that changes are happening, but the desire is that we want to keep being more effective. So we had a meeting with all of our leaders back in August, and I asked them some questions. And I want you maybe to think about these questions. What have we fallen in love with that's not as effective as it used to be? What are some of the things that maybe we as a church do, but maybe they're not as effective as it used to be? Here's another question I asked them. What would we love to quit doing but continue to do because we fear the consequences of change? If there were changes that needed to happen, would we have the courage to make the change? Or would we maybe fear rocking the boat? Trust me, many churches have stalled out because of fear of making a change. And then the last question was this. What are we doing programmatically that we would never dream of inviting a friend to attend? What are some of the things that maybe you're like, you know what, I love my church, but I would never invite somebody to attend that because I'm embarrassed by that, whatever else. What changes do we need to make? And are we willing as a church to say, you know what? We're willing to make any change as long as it would make us more effective at reaching the people for Jesus Christ that we need to make. My hope is that we as a church have the courage to make this year the year that we'll do that. If there are sacred cows that need to be sacrificed, let's kill them. Let's kill them. Okay? I know cows, and Susie's favorite animal. I'm sorry, Susie. As we're having burgers today, yes. Are we willing to do it? Are we willing to make the changes? So this week, as I'm preparing for this message, I was feeling the weight. I was feeling the weight because in all honesty, when I look at our world, when I look at the challenges that we face, sometimes I got to be honest, I struggle to know how to lead. You know, I look around and we live in a very churched area here in Byron Center and the surrounding communities. Have you noticed we have a few churches around? But just as I'm driving here this morning, I'm seeing an awful lot of kids out running around. I've seen an awful lot of people. I know my neighbors. Many of them think church is completely optional, if not irrelevant. And that's here in Byron Center. I'm amazed at how many people that I talk to have zero sort of relationship with Jesus Christ. And now we can come together and we can continue to worship and we can continue to enjoy each other's company. And I do. I love it. I love seeing all you guys. But our purpose is to be his representatives here, to come together, but also to continue to reach out to the needs that are around us. And so sometimes I look at this and I'm like, man, God, how are we going to do this? I look just to our left, our this side over here, whatever that is, okay? My right, your left, okay? I look over here. I look west. There you go. And there's a big neighborhood. We have a couple people who live in this neighborhood. But think about it. We are the closest, maybe, gathering church to many of the people who are there. And yet I recognize many of them probably don't even go to church. What can we do to bridge the gap, to be a place where they could be introduced to Jesus Christ? I don't know. I question that. I pray about that. I don't want us just to be effective at ministering to each other. I want us to be effective at ministering to the needs that are out there. And so as I thought about this, I'm like, man, God, this is a God-sized challenge. I kept saying, God, what do you want me to say today? God led me, I truly believe this, to Joshua chapter 5. I was not going to Joshua this week, okay? It had nothing to do with our mission statement, which is what I was planning to talk to you about. But it's like, no, God, I'm going to do what you lead me. Joshua chapter 5, please. Joshua chapter 5. If you know, maybe you've heard of, maybe there was an old spiritual song, and the song was called Joshua Fit the Battle of Jericho. I never knew what fit the meant, but it means fought the. It's just said in a different way. Okay, so it's fought the battle. Joshua fought the battle of Jericho. And we read about that in the book of Joshua. So Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua. It's right in your Old Testament. Joshua chapter 5 in verse 13. Now when Joshua was near Jericho, he looked up and saw a man standing in front of him with a drawn sword in his hand. Joshua went up to him and asked, "Are you for us or for our enemies?" "Neither," he replied, "but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come." Then Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence and asked him, "What message does my Lord have for his servant?" The commander of the Lord's army replied, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy." And Joshua did so. Man, all of a sudden it was crystal clear. John, that's what you got to talk about today. Because you see, what needed to happen was I needed a perspective change. When Joshua was near Jericho, okay, Jericho was an extremely tight, it was a very fortified city. They had huge walls. Historians, archaeologists have dug around and they've seen these things, and these walls were literally impenetrable. And now an ancient city, people would have to come and they would have to go in order to get out. But what they would do is they would say, as long as the enemy is really imminent right around us, we're not opening the gates at all. So it's not even like you could just sneak in. Once they realized that the army was there, they shut this thing up. And so I can only imagine Joshua. The people of Israel have come over. God had already told them, listen, Joshua, be strong, be courageous, for I will be with you. I'll be with you. But Joshua shows up, and I can only imagine he's got millions of people behind him, and they're waiting for him to be their leader. And the people are like, what should we do, Joshua? And Joshua's like, yeah, I'll get back to you. Yep. So I can only imagine Joshua, maybe it's during the day, maybe it's in the evening, we're really not told, but Joshua's probably out walking around and he's thinking to himself, how are we going to attack this city? He's probably looking around and he's seeing the high areas and he's able to see the hills. You know what? If we could be over here, well, that would be good. But the problem is we got to get into the city. And as long as they're closed up, I'm not sure. What do we have that could break down gates? What do we have that could maybe get over the walls? What do we have? We just came out of the desert. We've been living off of manna and whatever else. We're not trained for war. And he's looking at his limitations and he's seeing the struggles. And he's like, what am I supposed to do? And in the middle of this whole thing, all of a sudden there's a man who's standing there. Now, it almost seems, based on the way the text reads, that this man just kind of appeared. Now, we're not told he just magically appeared, but maybe Joshua was deep in thought, and all of a sudden he sees this guy over here and he goes, whoa, wait a second. I can only picture that Joshua maybe reaches down and he puts one hand on his sword and he said, hey, whose side are you on? Because you see, there's two teams. You're either for us or you're against us. And granted, they're in enemy territory. I'd probably have my hand on my sword as well. So he's seeing this and he's experiencing this, but the response was not what he was expecting. Because the response was not, I'm on your team. I'm here to help you, Joshua. What was the response? I'm not on your team, buddy. You're on my team. And that stops him dead in his tracks. This past week, as I'm thinking, Lord, I got to talk to these people. I'm their leader. They're looking to leaders. They're looking for leadership. As we look at this, and trust me, as a leader here at Frontline Bible Church, I want us to be effective. And I may have ideas and I may have things. But in my humanness, I don't know all the answers. And so honestly, what needed to happen for me was there needed to be a reminder that John, I'm not here to help you, buddy. You're on my team. And honestly, I had thoughts that I would actually deliver my message from right here. Because it's not about me being your leader, like you're looking to me. John, fix it. Elders, fix it. Who are we looking to as leaders? Because I'm just a man. Yeah, I'm your pastor. I have a privilege of being your pastor. But I'm not God. And so I want to share some things this morning. And that's this. God-sized challenges start with God. God-sized challenges start with God. This world is in desperate need of God, in desperate need of that. And it starts with God. And so here's the reasons. Number one, our strength comes from Him. Our strength to do this comes from Him. When I think of this, the angel's response, neither, he replied, but as commander of the army of the Lord, I have now come. I wonder what this guy looked like. Was he 7 foot tall? Was he chiseled? Did he have a sword that looked like something out of Minecraft? What kind of a thing did he actually have? But all we know is that when Joshua recognized who he was, it says Joshua fell face down to the ground in reverence. Joshua stopped dead in his tracks. And he was reminded, yes, Joshua, I've done an awful lot for you. Yes, I've given you all these things. You are my chosen man to be able to go do this. But just remember, you are my chosen man. You're not God. What does it say? It says he fell face down to the ground in reverence. Now, one of the things that we know about Scripture is that when angels are present, when angels show up and when man tries to worship angels, the angels say, don't worship me. Don't worship me. I'm not God. But when God shows up, people worship because they can't help it. And so when Joshua falls down in reverence, in worship, what we understand about the text is he was worshiping God. You see, theology says there's these things called theophanies. A theophany is when God shows up before what we call the incarnation, which was when Jesus Christ took on flesh and came as a baby. Okay? That's called the incarnation, when God became man. Jesus took on flesh. But Jesus shows up periodically throughout the Old Testament. And in those times, when he shows up, people can't help but worship. And so as Jesus shows up in front of Joshua, he's reminded in that moment, I need you. And that was just the perspective he needed. Back in Deuteronomy, I'm not going to have you turn there due to time, but back in Deuteronomy, Joshua was told, Joshua, I'm going to use you, okay? God told Moses, you're going to die. You're 120 years old. You're old enough, okay? You're old enough. You're going to die. You're not going to be able to go into the land, but I've chosen a man by the name of Joshua, the guy that's been with you. He's going to take him in there. Oh, by the way, be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous, Joshua. And he will tell Joshua time and time and time and time again, be strong and courageous, be strong and courageous. See, I can only picture that Joshua on his bathroom mirror has written on 3x5 note cards, Joshua, be strong and courageous. He's probably got it on his dash in his car as he drives around. He's got it on his dash, be strong and courageous. Because God keeps saying, be strong and courageous. If you've been given a message like that, you'd think you'd listen to it too, right? And so you're given the message, be strong and courageous. Okay. Be strong, be courageous. But it doesn't stop there, does it? For the Lord your God is what? With you. You see, Joshua needed a reminder. He needed a reminder that day that it's not Joshua and the nation of Israel against Jericho. It's God against Jericho. And Joshua just gets to join him. And when you think about the problems we're facing around here, when you think about the world and the struggles and the situations, do you sit there and you go, oh, I don't know what I'm going to do? How are we going to do this? How are we as a church going to meet these needs? How do we meet all the needs of the people around us? And we can fret and we can worry and we can try to figure it out, get all my plans, get it all right. When instead I need to step back and go, wait a second, I'm not God. And wow, I need to rest in that. Our strength to meet the challenges that we're going to face within these walls and outside these walls, our strength to face these challenges is not going to come because your pastor preaches good sermons, or the lack of. It's not going to come because Leo leads us in amazing worship, or because we got better youth pastors, or whatever else. I mean, it's not going to come because of that. The reason why we're going to be able to meet the needs of the world around us is because we are trusting God and we are doing what he says. Our strength to meet the needs will come from him, and we need to be reminded of that. God-sized challenges start with God. So where's God? He's right here. Joshua was told, be strong and courageous, do not be afraid, because the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. It's really interesting in the book of Hebrews chapter 13. In the book of Hebrews, the writer of Hebrews says, hey, by the way, keep yourselves free from the love of money, and by the way, be content with what you have. How many of you have any money issues going on right now? Okay, maybe some money issues, maybe some struggles. You're like, oh God, how am I going to meet this? Oh, I need this. It's so interesting what the writer of Hebrews says. He says, be content with, don't get caught up in the love of money. Be content with what you have. Why? And then he says this, and then he quotes Deuteronomy 31. Why? Because the Lord your God is with you wherever you go. God is with you. He's with me. And so as I face my challenges, I don't know what your challenge is today. I was just having a conversation with somebody just before service. We were talking about a new job that he's starting. And the challenge is, oh no, do I have what it takes? Am I going to be able to do this? For the Lord your God is with you. Your strength, my strength, our strength comes from him. And I need to be okay with that. Only 2 points today in case you're watching your clock. Our plans are subject to him. If our strength comes from him, I need a reminder that our plans are subject to him. Joshua was put into the right place. He was put into the right place because he falls down in worship. And he's like, oh, God, I worship you. I worship you. And I think that was the right posture for God to say, okay, I got a crazy plan for you. Here's the plan. The plan is this. You see that impenetrable city over there? You see the city that nobody can get into? You see the walls that are super high and the gates that are closed up? You see all that? Yeah. Yeah, I see that. Trust me, I'm aware of this. Here's the plan. We're going to just walk around it for 6 days. One time, just walk around it. And then on the 7th day, this is when I get my sword, right? He goes, no, we're not going to get the sword. On the 7th day, we're going to walk around it 7 times. And then we're going to blow trumpets. And then all the walls are going to fall down. You see, I think Joshua needed to be reminded that the strength comes from God, not him. Because that's a stupid battle plan. Think about it. That's a really dumb battle plan. March around 1 time for 6 days, and then march 7 times and blow trumpets. That's a dumb plan. But with God, that plan is amazing. So which plan do you want? One that makes sense to you, or one that makes sense to God? Interesting, I was doing some research on this. It says that Joshua marched for 6 days, and on the 7th day, they did the 7 times thing, and that's when God did it. Throughout Scripture, oftentimes we read about the 7th day. And what is the 7th day? We call it the Sabbath. It's the day of rest. Now, we don't know for exactly, as far as like the calendar, we're not told exactly what day they did it. But wouldn't it be interesting if on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, they marched 1 time. And then on the day of rest, that's when God does his work. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't it be cool that rather than fretting about this ministry year and worrying, oh no, what are we going to do? Are we going to have what it takes? Are we going to be able to make all the changes? Are we going to be able to get it right? Wouldn't it be amazing as if we, rather than fretting and worrying, we simply did what God asked, and then we rest and watch God do something amazing? Wouldn't that be cool? You see, that's what I want. Oh, I can cook up some good plans, especially if you have to do the work. I can cook it up. But in all honesty, I don't want my plans. I want God's plans. But it requires that we put him in perspective. You see, there's changes that are needing to happen. This past week was really, really hard. Man, it was hard. There was a man by the name of Charlie Kirk. Now, trust me, Charlie Kirk was a human just like us. He was imperfect just like us. I know in some cases maybe you've heard what's going on. You know, he was assassinated on Wednesday, which was an absolute terrible tragedy. And the way some people talk about him is as if he was a god. He wasn't. He was a man. But he was a man on a mission. That's what he was. He was a man on a mission. And I'll tell you, his voice was affecting a lot of young people. I'm amazed at the young people, especially the millennials, the Gen Zs, who were hearing his voice and saying, man, that guy's resonating. He's resonating with something that I'm already feeling. There's something going on, but I'm resonating with that. And then he was taken away. It seems so senseless. But this is the world that we live in, and it's a world that desperately needs Jesus. But it's really interesting to me. I was passed along this quote. He was interviewed recently, and the interviewer asked him, if you were to die, if everything were to go away today, and you could only be associated with one thing, how would you want to be remembered? without missing a beat in the interview, he says this: I want to be remembered as having courage for my faith. That would be the most important thing. Faith is the most important thing in my life. You know, you think about it. Yes, whatever he was as a conservative political activist, whatever he was and whatever he was doing, whether you agree or disagree with his political views, the one thing that he was absolutely unashamed about was his faith in Jesus Christ. That's what he was. I don't know what it's going to take for you and for me to have that level of courage and boldness in whatever God sees fit. But trust me, if we as believers say, okay, God, I want you to be God in my life. And I'm going to make my plans for work and business and whatever else, my plans for entertainment, I'm going to make them subject to you. We have no idea where God's going to lead us. I'm pretty sure Charlie did not expect to be gone already. And so while we mourn with his family, I wonder, okay, God, what are you up to? Lord, make our plans subject to yours. And so as we close out today, I want to remind you of this. God-sized challenges start with God. They start there. It doesn't mean that we don't act. I mean, that's what they had to do. They had to march, and then they went in and they attacked the city and they put it to the sword. They still had to act. But it starts with an awareness that I'm not God, neither are you, and that's okay. And so as we close, here's your challenge. I want you to ask God to make it clear to you that you're not God. Now, trust me, that's a dangerous prayer. If you say, God, please make it clear to me that I'm not God of my life, God's like, oh yeah. Oh, he's a loving Father. But he'll show you. And then you rest. You rest in that. I needed that reminder. I hope you do as well. And then for us as a church family, I pray, I hope it's your prayer, that we as Frontline Bible Church will always start with God for the challenges we're sure to face. Would you pray for me, pray with me for our church? Pray that this ministry year, as we look at the changes that we have to make, that we will be making, that we as a church have the courage and the boldness to say, God, wherever you take us, wherever you lead us, we're trusting you with it. And we're confident you're going to do something amazing. Let's close in prayer. God, as we wrap up today, I'm just appreciative of this group of people. I am so appreciative that I get to be a pastor here. But Lord, as I think about it, there are moments where I may think of myself more highly than I ought. And as I look and I think of the responsibility of being a leader here, Lord, that's no small thing. But man, I thank you for the assurance. I thank you for the reminder this week that I had that I'm on your team. We're on your team. I don't have to be all things to all people because you've already done that. I simply get to trust you. I get to rest in you. And Lord, I'm going to trust that you're going to lead me, that you're going to lead us as a church. You're going to lead us to whatever we need to do. Because God, there's people who desperately need you. There's so much hopelessness. Man, there's so many people who are struggling. The events surrounding Charlie Kirk are just such a reminder, whether it's the Colorado school shooting or the other things, even things that are happening just in our neighborhood. God, we need you. We trust you. So, Lord, we give it all to you. I ask, Lord, may you be the Lord of Frontline Bible Church. May you do only as you can here. And we love you and thank you in Jesus' name. And all those in agreement said, amen.